Hello, Dream Team. Welcome along to this week's The Good, the Bad, and the Rugby in partnership with our very good friends at Continental Tires. Hope you're well. First things first, what an Investec Champions Cup final it was. Secondly, what a pair of Premiership semi-finals we've got to look forward to. Thirdly, what a few years he's had. And fourthly, what a career it's been. A lot to get stuck into on this week's show with the help of Tins and Jonny May. And our very special guest this week, who requires very little introduction. He has certainly been England's best player for the last 12 months or so. He is well on his way to reaching his goal of being one of the world's best. It is, of course, the one and only Mr. Ben Earl. Welcome along. How are you? How's your bank holiday been?
Yeah, it's been very relaxed, unlike other people's. We had training today, so we were very low key, kind of under strict instructions to not absolutely blow it over the weekend, and I think everyone's done a pretty good job. So glad to be here and glad to finally take part. I'll keep watching John get all the limelight. So I'm looking forward to being here.
You are very welcome, John. How are you? I imagine your weekend's been ever so slightly different to Ben's, which has been rest, recuperation, and training. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty exhausted. Final, then we had a bus home, then we had a day social, and then I had Jackson's birthday party. And then today there's been more like tidying up from party and more parties, other kids' parties. So kids' parties, socials, losing finals.
Has it been finished off with a Mad Monday or not?
I don't reckon there was many on the Monday, but there was certainly some Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. I did Friday night, Saturday till about early afternoon, and then I had to go and help put up marquees in the garden for Jackson's birthday.
Day social and Jonny May is not an equation that you hear very often, I think, from my experience. But I quite like you there, John. Remember the double social we had on La Seine in Paris? That was a good day.
Yeah, it was good.
Double denim.
John, let's come on to your final in a moment or two. But did anyone watch the Champions Cup final? It was one of the biggest events I've been to in club rugby in a long, long time. Tins, give us a breakdown of what you made of it, whether the right team won, and why this leaves Leinster.
It was quite hard to watch. Whilst I was in Monaco, whilst watching the cars go around. It was very difficult to concentrate on a little screen when there was a big screen with cars and there was a full bottle of rosé that needed my full attention. But I tried my best. I watched it on the way back. I watched it on my way back this morning. It's unbelievable occasion. I mean, I think Leinster will look back at the amount of sort of 22 entries they had in that first half and no one really converted anything. But physicality of Toulouse was pretty spectacular. I thought Jack Willis was amazing. I thought, it actually worked in their favour where the second row had to come back on after the other one went off for an HIA, and it was like a rolling sub. It was like Super League. Just swap the forwards around and come and do another shift. Dupont is just insanely good at everything. I thought it was an incredible final. I think I saw the result before I obviously watched it, and I was like, at 9-9 or whatever, I was like, well, how is this getting to the scoreline that I've seen? There's only 6 minutes left, and then obviously it went to extra time, and I'm glad the red card didn't cost him, because I think it's a harsh red card. That's one of those. There's very little he can do. Richie Arnold, he's just unfortunate, isn't it? Someone stands up for a ruck when you're coming in to clean it out and you hit him in the head. I mean, there's not much you can do about it. But I'm glad it didn't cost him. I thought Toulouse were deserved winners.
Did you watch it, Ben? And did you think, these two are playing at another level? Did you watch it and think, God, I wish I was out there and Sarries could have this? Did you watch it? Or did you not watch it at all? Were you sort of off doing the garden?
No, I did. I actually didn't watch it live. I watched it like Tins on Sunday evening. I think you're right. I think those two teams probably at the moment are by far and away the two best in Europe. And I thought, I thought it was, like you said, it was such a physical contest. The breakdown was just like, it was actually wild watching it. Like in terms of there was just so much illegality from both teams that you're like, you might as well just let this crack on and see what happens. I thought it was a great game, and I agree. I think Toulouse were probably good value for the win by the end. Leinster probably looked back at a few opportunities. Certainly when they entered the 22, the amount of times the ball hit the floor, I thought, if a couple of them stick or they make a few different decisions, that result might have changed. But no, I thought Toulouse a good value.
Do you message Jack Willis off the back of it? Did you check in with him?
I do. I because obviously with Tom being with us as well, we hear both sides of the story. But no, I message him whenever they have a good win. I'm pleased to see him doing really well out there. Obviously, the way the World Cup ended for him was kind of a bizarre and a sad occasion, really. So no, pleased to see him and his family doing so well out there.
Do you think, Jonny, that this sticks another? I suppose what's the right expression? It fans the flames of those who say that England should now be picking players overseas. When you see how much, not necessarily Jack has improved, but the level at which he is now playing on a regular basis, is there the argument now to say that Steve Borthwaite, and you don't have to open the sluice gates to let everybody disappear, but maybe he gets 3 wild cards, Steve, to pick from players playing overseas just to complement everyone who's playing in the Premiership? I mean, do you think Jack Willis' performance adds to the fires around that?
No, like we discussed with the central contract, it should be on a person-by-person basis. So if Steve and the player would sit down and say, like, I think I could get better going to this club, which is in France or here or there or anywhere, or if I'm better playing here, then they can decide that together, and that could be the best for everyone. And it's obviously worked out very well for Jack to go to Toulon, and he's playing great rugby, so it's not a problem. I think it should be person by person case, and yeah, no problem with people playing abroad at all, really.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one because I think through no real fault of his own, he's landed where he's landed, and then he's given no option because he might not have the same deal, might not be around in the Premiership or whatever. So he can't do anything about it, and then you're getting punished for ultimately the failing of losing a club and having to make a decision to get a job. And I think this is where England are a bit screwed at the moment, is when everything was right and we were leading the charge and we had multiple World Cup winners playing throughout the Premiership because we had a good salary cap. We had, you've got the 2 marquee players and everyone thought everything was good and rosy, then it's fine to sort of set that rule. But now where we're fighting for, keeping our players, a lot of our players can't get jobs because people don't have the budgets to, especially a position like winger or a centre where they can, a lot of people can fill those shoes. Your specialist wingers a lot of time can't find clubs and can't get jobs because people can't afford them. And I think it's just a bit shallow for us not to go right. At the moment, we are where we are. We've got to we've got to allow people to earn their money wherever they're going to earn it, and then we'll still pick them. Otherwise, you have to compensate them for what they're going to lose out from whatever contract they get paid over there, and you've got to make sure you match that and keep them happy. So it's just where we are at the moment in the game, isn't it? And unless something changes, something comes in, unless the show we built last week on Live Rugby comes to the party, then you're sort of stuck in a way where you've got to try and solve it.
Let's not go back to that. I think it just comments below the line. Interesting. I was having a look at the history. So French teams have won the last 4. They've been in 11 of the last 12 finals. I think the argument would always be that 20 years ago, top 14, there wasn't very much between top 14 and Premiership. But if you look at the financial situation now in the Premier, it's actually very hard for them to hang on to and to nourish and to nurture all of the talents. If you had Jack Willis somewhere like Exeter, then potentially someone like Ethan Roots and Greg Fislap play less rugby. If he's at Quins, Chandler Cunningham South gets less opportunity. So I think it's interesting about whether the 10 clubs now can nurture the pool of talent that England wants and potentially can pull together. And secondarily to that, if you look not just at Jack Willis, but also Blair Kinghorn, the growth in both of their games they've got to Toulouse has been astronomical. I don't want to sort of throw you a curveball, Ben, although knowing how much you love your cricket, I imagine you'll nip it away very nicely. But I mean, if the door was open, would you love to go? Are you very happy where you are? Do you think the rule is... Can you understand the rule from the RFU and Prem Rugby's point of view?
I think selfishly, being at Saracens and having been there and wanting to be there for as long as I hope to be, I think you're in danger. And obviously there's extenuating circumstances like Jack, like Henry Arundel, those kind of guys, and they can't help being there. But I think we have to keep the value in the league. We talk about trying to get the league and the product being as good as it's been. Having played in the Premiership this year with obviously Jonny as well, the product's never been better. The games have never been more tightly contested. The games have never been harder because you've got a higher concentration of better players. I think the moment I don't know how many people would go, but I think if you allowed people to play for England and play in France through their choice, I think you could see a good chunk of good young English talent getting out there quite quickly. And I think that's a dangerous precedent to set for me personally.
I think it's an interesting one because I think everyone always seems to think that there's going to be loads of spots. There aren't going to be loads of jobs. I don't think you'd see that many people get snapped up. I think it would be one or two. I'm not entirely sure it'd be a massive exodus like everyone's worried about. I just think there's not going to be that many jobs. There's too many good French players now. So yeah,
they've also got the GIF rule that limits the number of overseas players they can play. I don't think you answered very well, Ben. It feels quite a sensitive time, particularly because of the way that Henry, Jack, and others have headed over there. It'll be interesting to see whether they relax at all. Tins, let me ask you about Leinster, because we asked the mischievous question on last week's show that if they lose, is it becoming a bit of a problem? But that is 3 finals on the trot. I think it's the last 4 they've been in. There are other results around Irish rugby where you sort of question whether when it comes to the crunch they're able to do what they can do so regularly. Again, I'm fanning the flame.
Why do you always give me that hand grenade?
Because you've got a lot of history with those in green and now blue.
And look, realistically, if I speak honestly, they should be expected to win that. It's a full international team that they're putting out there. Now, they were on the edge of winning that game all the way through, so they were competing to the end. But, it's just another one that slips through, and they're going to have that still hang over them until they... And this is mad to say because they've already got 4 Heineken Cups underneath their belt, so it's not like they don't win anything. But it always seems to be on those big occasions they're coming up on the other side of it, and it's the same when they're in the green of Ireland. So yeah, look, everyone will talk about it until they change it and start dominating and winning everything. But they're a pretty dominant team, but that's because they're mainly the Irish team. And just to see, that's why that game was so epic, to see that many internationals at the top of their game going toe to toe is just, and do it in that way of physicality and then have it go to extra time. That's what you want to be seeing. That's the sport that we love, and that's the sport that we love watching. And I'll quite happily watch that game every week if you can deliver it to me.
We're getting back to the show of 2 weeks ago again.
Yeah.
So we had basically Ireland against France in the Champions Cup. We had South Africa against Gloucester on Friday.
That is a point in itself. Like, how do the English teams compete with the Irish teams, the URC teams with no salary cap, the French team? Like, that's sort of a bit of the elephant in the room. Like how is it that the English teams are going to compete with these teams who are spending 3 times the amount on their squad? Like, the team that Gloucester had out at the weekend, and we tried our best, but there must have been, their team on financially must have been like 3 or 4 times more expensive than our team, and we did try our best, but they were a much better team on the day. They showed up and we gave it a go, but we couldn't really get in the game just because they had much more internationals and higher quality players, it felt like, and it's money. That comes down to money.
I mean, that pack.
South Africa pack
is
the joke.
Is insane, to be fair.
Jonny, just give us a sense of what a game like that is like to play in when you can just feel it. You had an amazing first 10.
Yeah.
And you needed to score in that. Watching it, that obviously Chris Harris just missing short of the line.
Yeah.
I'm not getting. I was after about 5 minutes. I was like, they need to get something out of this.
Yeah,
and it just went 10 minutes, and then they stopped that, and then they got out of it, and then it just all swung the other way, didn't it?
I reflect on it, like I'm like thinking, well, we were on it. Well, Gloucester were focused. We were on it. We threw our best first 10 minutes at them. But was it like, I'm just playing like devil's advocate with myself? Like, were we good? But they did give away like 5 penalties in the first 10 minutes. So like with that, of course, we're going to be in their 22 and they're going to be under the pump. So like if they don't give those penalties away, like wasn't the first one not rolling away, and then we were just like, do you know what I mean? There was a couple of soft ones from them. So they gave us a bit of a way in. that we just couldn't get over. And I always think like 5 meters out, it's just a bit of a power game. Then you need some big boppers just to bundle over a little bit. And their boppers were they had bigger ones, much bigger ones. And it was just like once the scrum pen, like I've just seen it before when the scrums go like that. It's just a no scrum, no game. It really is. It's so tough.
He did a better job though second half in terms of just quick hooks and getting off the base with Zak getting off the base in the second half. But I thought you'd play a little bit looser. You know how you said against Benetton, how they said against Benetton that they're really loose, so you wanted to make it a bit tighter for them and bring them back to it. Whereas I thought you'd go the other way against them and try and play.
We definitely needed to get outside their forwards. One way of doing that is getting good delivery from a scrum. As soon as 8's got to deliver it, all our strike moves went out the window. And then we look at our line-out menu, maybe we would have done that a bit different because we're very set-piece focused on how we go into a game. So like we couldn't get our scrum launches going. The line-out plays, we probably did go into the teeth of them too much. And then obviously the other source of possession is your kick return. And we had what we call it a net at Gloucester. Other teams call it a glove. It's that kick. It's that protection of the catcher. And Mapimpi was just pissing through. That was bad from us, but that's not good enough for the players because we practiced that and we couldn't execute on that. And with the net, it creates crumbs and knock-ons and more scrums, and then it's just like it's just a wheel of challenge and frustration.
A wheel of doom.
A wheel of doom. Yeah.
Jonny, what was it like for you packing up sort of after the final? I mean, and what was said in that Gloucester change room after the season that you've had?
Yeah, Lud spoke so well and said, listen, everybody here worked so bloody hard and well done to the players and all the staff and the coaches. And like the positives are this season, we've won a Slater Cup for the first time. We've won a Prem Cup. And he said, we're on the way up. So just have faith and stick tight over the next. So he spoke really well. But it's just, I mean, it's a strange one after you lose the final, then going on the social. People, it's just odd. So yeah, it's just all a bit strange. But like I'm feeling grateful. Like I still got to my last game for Gloucester was in a final at Tottenham. I had a home game the week before, which went really well. We did give it our best shot. They were dominant. They were a dominant team against us. And the result is the result. That's a reflection of where Gloucester are compared to the Sharks. That's a fair reflection of where we're at.
How was playing in that stadium? It looks insane. Was it
my god! It's so exciting. Like the team run it. It's firmer. It's definitely like a football pitch, like firmer surface. But the stadium's close in and steep, so the pitch feels smaller, even though it's not. Because I was like, oh, this pitch is narrow, and then they're like, oh, it's not. It's wider than King's Dome. So like, it's a big pitch, but it feels smaller because it's so steep and tight. The changing rooms are insane. On the team run day, we were in the Ball Boys changing room, and the Ball Boys changing room would be the best in the English Premiership. So yeah, it was incredible, and the grass was just like a carpet. Yeah, it was an amazing stadium, so cool. So like, and like, I always like the stadiums where like the bus goes in and then you've got to walk up a ramp. I quite like that. It's just a nice, like you walk up the ramp into the. I just love it. So no, there were so many positives about it, and like Gloucester have done amazing to get to that final. But it was just a challenge beyond where we're at the moment. Unfortunately, even though we did rip in, we gave it our best.
Do you know that the atmosphere at the final, the Investec Champions Cup final on Saturday was absolutely brilliant. I mean, really, really impressive. It sort of comes back to, I know we keep referencing that show we did about big investment coming into club rugby or franchise rugby at some point, but the opportunity to go to new stadiums, fresh stadiums, it is a really good day out. I didn't realise this, but Tottenham's actually got an entirely separate set of changing rooms to the NFL. So on one side, you've got football, which is where the rugby teams change. But on the other side, you've got an entirely different makeup designed solely for the NFL teams. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, so I assume that's something to do with how many people dress in the American. It must be 65 that get dressed, so they didn't need space, I would imagine. But
how many ball boys do they have? this ball boy changing room was enormous.
Maybe that's your next
incredible.
Can we send you? Can that be your work experience? Can I send you as a ball boy at Tottenham?
I am looking for work. Never say never.
Oh, did you go in the cold pool, John? You must have loved it there.
Hey, the what?
The cold plunge pool. So
I didn't even find them. I didn't even know where they were. I didn't see them.
Because we get the home. Well, obviously, when we go there, we get the home.
You had the home. We were away. No, we had the away.
So in the home change room, there's like 2 plunge pools, I think, of different temperatures. One really cold and one quite cold. So that's nice.
That's amazing.
And,
yeah.
I'm sure, in the same as you, John, and our coaches love it every year. They like raid the showers from the molten brown. It's like molten brown.
Yeah.
You just see like a couple of coaches' bags looking a little bit heavier on the way out.
And that's rugby in a nutshell. Go in and steal the shampoo.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. What do you make of the Spurs Stadium, Ben? Because
Ben
we're
played
just
there.
eulogising about what an incredible atmosphere it was to the Investec Champions Cup final. Yeah,
it's an amazing stadium for a number of different reasons. Obviously, I was listening. John said it correctly. Like the way the pitch feels so small because the stand is so close and so steep on you. And yeah, I think it like unlocks a different kind of audience. We always, I think, as a club, think a lot like it's a really successful day out when we do it. And when you've got James Haskell DJing beforehand, it can only go well, right? That was our big selling point last time. But no, it's brilliant. We love going there. And I think, hopefully with more clubs having more ideas like that, Quins have been doing big game for a while. We've been doing games at grounds like that for a while. Hopefully it's only good for the game.
We played on a different stadium. The 2019 World Cup, our last game, we played Italy at what's it called?
St. James's Park.
That was amazing as well. Like playing up in the north, like in a big stadium. So yeah, I think it's cool. I think like there is scope for the big games to do it, because even the big game when you play Quins, Twickenham is amazing. I love playing at Twickenham, but it is nice. Just there are some other nice stadiums. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Just there's an opportunity to do that a little bit more, I think.
I love it. Jonny is shaking the can. Letting England players go overseas and let's take English rugby on the road. We've debated this sometimes before. The question I was going to ask you, Ben, is tell me about your relationship with Jonny May alongside, because I can't imagine you sort of trained in close proximity. But what is the relationship between the two of you?
Oh, it's an interesting one. I feel like we kind of stumbled across a friendship. I think that's fair to say, over different mediums, different platforms. I think John and I have the same view. Certainly, we did when I was first playing for England, about how we felt about being in camp. And obviously, last time we were in camp together before Steve came in, it was like strict COVID, so we only had each other, if that makes sense. So John and I would spend a bit of time together. He's big into his recovery, and I probably took a leaf out of his book in that sense, and kind of opened my eyes to how diligent you can be as a professional. And then we used to play a bit of golf together over the World Cup, and I guess our relationship's kind of gone from there, really. I mean, 40's always going to be number one, but I'd like to think in camp I'm a close number 2 or 3. So I'm happy that way. It's good fun.
Jonny, do you reciprocate?
Yeah, no, I'm close with Ben. Get on well with Ben. I think it's probably COVID was your first. The COVID.
Well, it was probably the first time we properly did camp together.
The proper one, and probably
spoke to me. You never speak to the young lads before that, do you?
Yeah, my empathy for Ben was the fact that Eddie was being quite hard on you at that moment in time, and I've certainly been on that side of it. So, like the boys who had received that did do quite a good job for Ben within that period.
Yeah,
and then obviously he's gone out of the squad and been there or thereabouts a bit, and come back in to the World Cup. And to be fair to Ben, like we weren't. Well, I was not going to the World Cup, but Ben wasn't like guaranteed on the flight either. So we'd be walking down in the mornings like, "What's your chat? And are you going?" And Steve's challenging Ben for his carrying. But my God, did Ben Earl show Steve Borthwick he can carry? My God, yeah, he showed him all right. And that, like, obviously Ben got his chance. And like we're being generally serious, the back row and wingers was probably the two. There was like 40 of each position in camp, and there was only it was like, the odds weren't in either of our favours, to be honest. So like we were close on that point, but no, Ben got his chance and obviously lit it up at the World Cup, and then he's gone.
But can I ask you, Ben, just before we come on to sort of the now, just how you reflect on your time with England under Eddie Jones?
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly an up and down, bit of a roller coaster, as I'm sure a few boys would say with Eddie. I think first and foremost, and I do genuinely mean this, I'm not saying this because I'm on the podcast, but Eddie gave me my first cap. He was the one that took the gamble on me when I'd played 30 times for Sarries. Like, only played in a handful of games where we played our strongest team. So for that, I'll be forever grateful, and that will always be your greatest day in your career, I guess, making your debut for England. But yeah, I mean, like John touched on, he challenged me a lot. He challenged me in different ways in terms of how to help the team. You know, and what did I get impatient by? You know, there was that stat that I hadn't started a game in however many. I think I was close to breaking Jamie's record. So that was kind of something on my back, and I was getting a bit impatient. But you know, and then he decided to go for a different direction. I think that's completely fair enough. I probably wasn't quite appreciating what it took to play for England. I didn't really appreciate what it is like playing for England, and I guess I had to have that maturing process. And as John will say, when you play for England and it gets taken away from you, all you want is to be back in that shirt, and it means so much more. And to have that opportunity again was amazing. But yeah, Eddie was an amazing coach. Again, very thankful for him for taking a risk on me. But yeah, we probably didn't see eye to eye by the end of my time playing for him with him.
It was always every Wednesday of Cheltenham week, where literally on Tuesday night Ben would say, "Oh, can I get some tickets for the races tomorrow?" I was like, "Oh, you're not in again." And then so it's like, "Yeah, come on in the green room. Come on in the green room. We'll get you a few Guinnesses. We'll put it all to bed." But because I remember watching that. Was it on Prime? Amazon Prime, the doco that you guys did, the Sarries game, that final week. Because you've taken into speaking to someone and going through all that mental side a bit more, haven't you? And that seemed well, if you look at just what you provide on the pitch, it's definitely worked and made you even better than what you were. Is that something that's changed and the look has come off the back, or is it a different way that you look at how you play the game that's led to, you know, being able to deliver on the field like week in, week out like you are doing?
Yeah, well, I guess the reason why I was speaking to someone was for my professional life, so it wasn't for necessarily stuff off the pitch. It was, you know, it was kind of a frustrating thing where I felt like I just couldn't get the best out of myself in whatever way I tried. It was almost like I'd train the house down, and then come Saturday morning, if I didn't fancy it, or if I didn't feel like I was quite ready, I never gave myself a chance. So it was kind of how I unlocked that side of me, I guess, and how I played. And yeah, it was more about enjoying, relishing those moments of toil in the week, in the games that I never used to be good at. And yeah, I guess that kind of came with a maturing process as well, and it probably goes hand in hand. And yeah, it's still something that I'm not quite happy with, but I feel like I've definitely made some strides in the right direction.
It's quite a well-worn path, yours, actually, because, I mean, it's the last 12, 18 months have been phenomenal, but it's very interesting hearing you talk about some of the challenges, particularly off the back of being, you were quite a big deal at schoolboy level, and as a youngster coming through. Is that fair? Did you feel, certainly as sort of 16, 17, 18, the game was sort of possibly easier than it's come back to prove?
Absolutely. The worst thing I ever did was play for England as an under 18-year-old. That was the worst thing I ever did. If I hadn't done that, I think maybe things would have worked out a lot quicker. Again, not to say I'd change anything in my journey, but I came into the Saracens being like, I'm bloody good. I'm really good.
I don't know quite how to say this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
I'm kind of a big deal. And then I literally trained. I mean, it coincided with Owen, the boys coming back from Australia tour. So they'd won that 2-1, 3-0.
2016.
And obviously, you're talking about that was the England in their absolute prime, and obviously a handful of a good chunk of that team went and played for the Lions the next summer. And I've turned up, and they've not been there pre-season. I thought I had a pretty good pre-season. Faz and all those boys turned up and trained in September, and I was like, what? Like, we're playing a different sport here. Like, I am so bad. And obviously, that was the most mind-blowing moment. And it's that moment, and I'm pretty sure every young player has it when they've had kind of the journey that I had as an age group player. You go, I've got so much work to do. I am so far off this. Like, it's a joke. And yeah, like I said, it probably took me, 18? Then it probably took me 4 years to try and work out how to actually play for Saracens consistently and how to play well consistently. And then it probably took me another 2 years to try and piece a bit more consistently together rather than just having flash in the pan moments in games. So yeah, it was a long, tough journey, but again, nothing I'd really change.
I love your honesty. Did you ruffle a few feathers coming through?
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's things I would have done differently as a youngster, and again, you can always sit back and laugh at it now because it worked out. But there was some things that I thought I could get away with, and being, openly someone who, as a youngster had everything kind of done for him. I went to boarding school at a very young age. Very insulated way of growing up, and yeah, it's completely fair. And I probably didn't really know what it was to work really hard at anything. I was quite lucky. I was quite good at a few bits at school, so kind of breezed my way through it.
He's very good at cricket, golf, probably everything. Probably, and he's clever. He's very good at and Elliot Daly's like that as well. Just annoyingly good at everything. So
Jonny, basically what you're saying is we don't like him.
Yeah. No, it's just very frustrating.
No one tells you that, and no one should have ever told you, but you could come out of school and be things are just going to get handed to you, and if I'm honest, I probably thought they were going to for a little bit anyway. And then it's only once, like I said, that was this moment that Owen, Billy, Mako, Jamie, Marrow, all these, George Cruz, all these amazing players, amazing guys come back, and I go, Jesus, I've got some really hard work to do, both on the pitch and off it, because you think you've cracked it as an 18-year-old coming into that kind of environment. It's pretty awesome, isn't it? So yeah, for sure, some lessons learned quickly.
Did you have any particular moments with any of the heavyweights in Sarries where they firmly reminded you of where you were in the pecking order?
Not necessarily a moment in time, but I'm sure it's the same with John. I'm sure it's the same with Tins when you were playing. You always have this young lad that the coaches feel obviously as a back rower, if we played a team that was a really good jackling threat, I was the one wearing the yellow bib. I was the one that had a target on his head. And I was told, and this happened in England for a little while as well, where I was told to basically cheat my way at every breakdown, be an absolute nose, piss everyone off so that there was no chance they'd ever like me anyway. And I hate to say,
I think Haas went to the same school of training. Yeah,
I hate to say I was pretty good at it. I was pretty good at cheating, pretty good at just cracking on and whatever. And so at the end of sessions, boys would just be hammering me. I'm like, boys, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get picked. I'm trying to impress my coaches. So yeah, that
it reminds me of that. Actually, does remind me of when we play with Eddie. We'd have 12 on 12, and obviously there is no referee. But on one team you've got Jack Willis and Ben Earl. The other team you've got Sam Underhill and Tom Curry. And every single time you go into contact, there is zero release. Ben Earl is on his knee. Ben Earl's on his knees, gripping into you. His head there is off his feet, gripping onto you. Eddie just loves giving it a turnover. So the ball's booted back the other way. You run it back, then Curry's jackling you. It was just turnovers. It was just prison rules. It does make you better, but there was a lot of turnovers in those sessions because, like they said, these guys are competing for spots, and there is no referee in training. So there's a lot of cheating going on, but some good jacklers.
Yeah, so that's probably again, you see those guys who are going through that journey now, and I now have sympathy for them, and I try and help them out in whatever way I can because it's tough place to be. But it's all part of the journey as a young back rower, I guess, in terms of trying to break into a team that's pretty established and pretty successful at what they do. So, yeah.
What is it, Ben, if you look at the last 18 months you've had, and it's fascinating to hear about almost the journey you've been on. Can you put your finger on why the last 18 months, 2 years has been as productive, as successful, you've improved as much as you have? Is there an easy answer to that? Or is it just time, experience and effort?
Well, there's probably two things. I think certainly the second part in terms of maturing, realising what you need to do to get better, being humble enough to try and actually work on stuff that no one really likes to work on their weaknesses. Everyone likes to hit a bag that's running straight at them. Everyone likes to take a ball with loads of space, but there's actually bits that I need to work on in my game. I got fitter. I got a lot fitter to play international rugby, and I felt like I was probably going into that World Cup in the best condition I'd been in my whole career, and worked out a way to do that, whether that was nutritionally and physically. And I guess the second part for me is I got an opportunity. I got an opportunity in that Wales game in the warm up, and then I was lucky enough for Billy to get that red card. I mean, if we're honest, I benefited the most from that. He got that red card against Ireland, and I managed to start that Argentina game, and yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of tried to make the most of it. And actually, in fairness to the coaches came up to me and was like, "Look, you're going to start this game, and you've got an opportunity if you go well to be the man for the tournament for us. Be our number 8." And that really resonated with me, and I really wanted to make it count. So, yeah, like I said, it's been a crazy 12 months. But I look back on few of those moments, few of those conversations, and think, God, how lucky was I at the time.
Jonny, what is? Ben Earl is all action on the field. What is Ben Earl like in the 10 minutes before you run out, in the warm-up, on game day? Is he calm and relaxed, or is it?
No, Ben Earl, I call him Ben Earl. No, Ben brings energy. He is a ball of energy. On days off, he's up for 18 holes. He's up for paddle. He's up for this. He's up for that. A few of the lads are like that. He's just got lots of energy. He's great to play alongside. The reaction and the energy. I'm not his level, but I do give it some turnovers. I think those moments are important to celebrate. And they do swing momentum and get boys on page and build your way into a game that way. But no, the energy he brings, and then the fitness of the man, the speed of him. He's here, there, and everywhere. He's playing scrum half. He's getting over the ball. He's in the back. He's everywhere. He's covering tackles everywhere. So he's amazing to play with. And me reflecting on Ben's journey, there was just a different. It was just a different. I don't know what it was, but and I've experienced that as well. Like he says, having it taken away from you when Eddie, you know what I mean? He had a taste of it, and then to come out, it's probably when he came back in, there was just it was just a new Ben Earl. It was just Ben Earl +1 because of that. It gives you that to that desire to get more out of yourself. That's what you've got to do. You've got to find a way to get more out of yourself. And then, like he said, he had an opportunity and then he took it. So he's gone away with a loaded gun and sat with it, frustration for months. And then he's come into camp and he's at boiling point. He's about to blow his load. Not a euphemism. But no, and then he's been given this opportunity. Do you know what I mean? With all the prep and all the hard work and all the frustration, and then he's just been a rocket. He's been an absolute rocket since. And it can be the making or break. You can get booted out, and it can be the breaking of you, or it can be the making of you. And I think and it's interesting talking about Ben's journey there. I haven't really thought about it this way, but annoyingly, like we've discussed, he's very fast, good at golf, good at cricket, good at everything. He's probably never really had it not his way. Maybe I'm speaking out wrongly or rightly, but he probably never really had a shock like that before. Hang on, this is not gone. This isn't how it goes for me. I'm used to the. So then all of a sudden, and credit to Ben, a lot of people who maybe have it their own way the whole time could easily throw their toys out the pram and Sol can be like, but no, Ben took it the right way. And like I said, he shined his gun, he loaded his gun, he sat on it, he went a bit crazy. And then when the time came, he went off like a rocket, and he's been going out of orbit. And I hope he continues to go, and he will do. He's just getting started.
Who was it? You who came up with the hollering, hooping every win of a penalty? Was it you or Maro? Do you have a competition to who can do the loudest woo or the biggest pat on the back? Or
I can't lie, I caught it off Maro, Owen, Jamie. That was exactly they were the guys that I used to.
I feel you've taken it to another level, though. You and Maro take it to a slightly different level.
I think like, and I've been quite vocal in why I do it. And the more I get asked, the more I think about it. It also, like, just for me, and like the loaded gun philosophy is actually quite interesting for me, because I'm so not like that when I'm doing anything else. And then when I play rugby, when I compete, I just love competing. I love playing for something on the line. And I think I find something which is almost like, hidden deep down, that very rarely comes up. And those moments for me are magic. And there is obviously it kept me engaged in games. It kept me trying to G my teammates up. It kept me really positive, which is something I definitely struggled with when I was younger, in terms of I'd make a mistake and be like, this game cannot get any worse. And actually the celebration side of it meant that I was just so focused on whatever was next, enjoying that moment and then going into the next thing.
Do you get nervous, Ben, pre-game? Do you sort of do you love the 15 minutes before you run out, or do you find it more of a challenge?
I hate like the night before the game. I hate the morning of the game. The moment I'm at the ground, I love it. But I honestly, before,
you like the warm up?
I don't mind the warm up. I just do my own thing. I'm not really that fast. I honestly, in the morning of a match, I wonder why I do it, because I can't stand the impending doom that I'm about to put myself through.
Impending doom.
And then I get there and I just think it's magic. It's like it's rugby's very, and I've been lucky enough to play a couple of sports and know a couple of people who play other sports. There's not really anything like rugby where, like, you need each other, but you also need yourself so much. Because if you don't give all yourself, you're fucking everyone else. And if you don't have everyone else, there's no chance you'll ever be successful. So there's very few sports where that can be the case, and I think that's pretty special. But yeah, I love it. I love once like I've got my boots on, I'm great. I love playing. I'm like, this is so awesome. It's probably until that point I'm a bit like, this could be really tough.
Yeah. What about the sort of the success and the accolades that are coming your way? Because it isn't, as you just said, you've got to be yourself, but you've got to be within a team as well. But you have had a hell of a lot of big, bold headlines, none more so, I think, than our British Airways High Flyer of the Way. I think you had about 11 consecutive awards from GBR. So we started handing it around the playground in order to sort of make it a bit fairer. But how much pride do you take in that? Do you stop and acknowledge the journey that you're on and the highs you're having at the moment? Or are you someone that just parks all of that until it's time to say farewell and then you'll look in the shed and see what you did?
I think my mum loves it. I think that's a big motivation for anyone who plays, isn't it? To make their parents proud. And she's got all the snippings at home. My grandma sends me all the articles that I'm involved in. So I try and keep those to a minimum. I thought I had a timeout injured this year. I had about 6 weeks out before Christmas, and that was probably the best thing that happened to me this year, in terms of, like, I was so tired, I was so burnt out, I was so emotionally just going where the wind took me, rather than actually having a purpose, which is when I'm at my best. And it allowed me to, like, kind of reset, rethink where I wanted to go from now, and also appreciate what had happened before. So yeah, I don't tend to take too much notice of the press, although I do like Stuart Barnes's idea of me playing at 12. I think that's genius. Having been because we've been playing with a 6-2 recently a lot, 6 forwards, 2 on the bench, and I've been the guy who's kind of like, if Armageddon hit and there was no centres left on the pitch, I would play 12. And I've defended there a little bit off scrums and lineouts, and that game is a different ball game. So I'm happy where I am. Thanks, Stuart.
Never say never.
But yeah, no, I tend not to read too much. I tend not to take too much notice. I'm probably playing with a group of people that are probably the biggest anti-press, but also honest group of blokes. So it's a nice environment to be in that regard.
Sorry, Tins, but that leads very nicely into honesty and the press. So I'm going to read you a quote from you post-Ireland. I'm a bit emotional, Ben said, because obviously Jamie lost his mum the other week, and we spoke a lot about that this week. And then Danny's 100th, and some of the crap that's been thrown at this team over the last week. Apparently, we're the worst England team ever. We've done pretty well for that accolade. And I don't know who in particular you were referring to when you said that, but Clive Woodward responded, saying that England players have to accept that if they play poorly, as they did in Edinburgh, they will be criticised. It's part of playing at the highest level, said Clive. I also think England shouldn't just take aim at the media as a collective. If a player or coach has a grievance with what a journalist has written, then name them directly. If that's me, then I'm absolutely fine with that. I don't know whether the two click together like a jigsaw puzzle, but do you want to confirm or deny who the generic media were that you were referring to?
Call him out.
I think it wasn't just Clive, but I think there was a lot going on that week, wasn't there? There was a lot of genius, like one-liners. I think we had to have. We could only beat Ireland if they had 13 men. Zebo thought we were going to lose by 50.
There's quite a few of them who said that we'd lose by 50, and not one of your team were getting any of in there.
There was a lot going on, and I don't know. So the game ended euphoria. Obviously, it was amazing. Whatever. And I looked at Jamie, and Jamie was like, I think he was crying with his old man in the stands, and then Tim, our media man, who Jonny knows, he's a very nice guy, comes up to you and says, look, you've got man of the match. We need you to do a bit of media. And I don't know what had come across me. It's very unlikely. And I said, do you know what? If the opportunity comes up here, something could come out. And I knew something was going to come out of my mouth that I'd live to regret. And I don't necessarily regret that. But I'm glad that I said it as PC as I did, because I had a lot of things going through my mind. Look, I think Clive's right in that regard in terms of playing for England brings a new pressure, and I think you have to love that, and I think you have to enjoy it, you have to relish it, you have to welcome it all. Do I think it had gone too far after one performance against Scotland where, we were miles off it, but, we'd come off a third place in the World Cup. We hadn't really been given much of a sniff in the Six Nations so far. So, I thought, at the same time, they can write what we can also say what we want in terms of that regard. We've always had the right to return serve. So, and look, the talking's always done on the pitch, but any bit of spice you can add on the end is sometimes quite nice.
I always think that at that point, though, because I think I said after that, the Scotland game, that was the best we've actually tried to play. Yeah, but we just dropped. We got the dropsies. Everyone got the dropsies in that game. Which, when it happens, it happens. But the actual intent to go and play was the best I'd seen. So I was like, I'm really positive about off the bat of that. And then everyone just got it. I don't know. It's just one of those things where I think yes, you are there to be criticised when you play, but it doesn't always have to come out in the criticism. It can be done in a different way. Yeah. And sometimes it's just people who want it. It's more about them than it is about the actual team. It's about them thinking that they get their names in lights or it's in a headline or whatever.
You said it, not me.
It does feel like that. It feels like the press aren't with it. Like it should be the English press with the team, and it certainly doesn't feel like that at times. I don't know if was Wiggy still doing social media Mondays or Tuesdays.
Yeah, we got some.
But that was just
that's quite a good idea. I quite like that.
Yeah,
it fuels you for a game.
It's great. It's great, but it just makes you. It does make you think. Like Jesus, there are our own people even with us at this point. You really do question it. And obviously the press don't represent the real people either, because when you speak to the people on the ground and the actual genuine fans, they're very supportive. So it's a tricky one. Yes, when you're playing for England, you have the right to be held to account and there's high standards. But the English press is cruel, isn't it? It's a tough one.
I'd love to have producer Tom on at the moment for what he said after the Wales game. Just slip you in here, Tom, because he was like, "I'm not going again." But
yeah,
I
mean, yeah, it's just that was great. I mean, me and Clive are members at the same golf course, so hopefully we can meet on the first tee at some point and break bread. But, no.
How do you feel about with that journey with England? Obviously, if I gave my synopsis of you go through that World Cup, the fucking heat that you all took in that was insane. And I thought that World Cup sort of came out as the maddest World Cup I've seen in terms of like just shit in social media and I hate the word troll, but just random abuse for no reason.
It was the Faz stuff as well when he got the Faz stuff was mental.
And ultimately thrown at Faz when he'd done nothing wrong. He'd done I've done a high tackle, and then it played out in a different stratosphere to what actually was going on. But then to go into this Six Nations and someone said, I think it looked like you knew you had to win those first two games because you were expected to win those two games. But then to sort of let the shackles off and perform like you did in that Ireland game, and to hear Twickenham rocking. I mean, I don't know whether how you felt Twickenham change. That Ireland game, I haven't seen Twickenham like that in a few years. Do you feel that on the pitch, and do you feel that it's finally coming through? What Steve I feel Steve is giving you a bit more freedom, and do you find that that's coming through and you're enjoying it more?
Definitely. I think you're right about Twickenham. I think that was pretty awesome, and I think everyone who was there, I mean, literally people who were there and like messaging me saying that was the best sporting event they've ever been to. So that was a pretty awesome thing to say. I definitely think we're playing in a way that we're all really enjoying it, and like even when we played against Wales, and I know that game was a bit of a turgid battle of attrition. But we've been training so well, and we've been training so well that whole campaign. So in terms of the way we attacked, the way we defended, so it was only a matter of time. And as everyone knows who's in the game, the attack always comes a bit longer with combinations and whatnot. So that was pleasing. And I think what Steve's done as well is like, he says he wants to keep a good chunk of the team together till the next World Cup. And I think when you hear that as a player, you're like, that is awesome. Like, you're like, I'm back to, I'm looking forward to like spending time with people who I genuinely want to get to a point where I care about them, as much as I do myself. I want them to be as successful because then England's successful. So I think the way Steve's managed to get that environment for all the players is awesome. And every time I think that environment can't get better, he finds a way of getting it better. And I think that's accolade to how hard he works and how much he thinks about the group and where we're at.
It's definitely more a sustainable environment under Steve than it was Eddie.
What do you mean by that?
Like, as in, like, it was bloody full on with Eddie. I.e., like, the schedule was loaded. There was surprises. There was this. There was that. It was a lot, and a lot of anxious energy as well. And there is an opportunity within a program like to sink or swim people, and thrive or die. And we had a period where it really did get us going, but it isn't that way is not sustainable. We're under the schedule. The main things now are the main things. Like, we meet in, we lift our weights, we do our rugby, and then you are left alone. Whereas it was in the pool first thing in the morning, hand-eye, then you're on the computers for hand-eye, then you had to go to the gym. Within gym, you've got skills, contact skills, God knows what else, different blocks before training, walk through. It had a real influence on us for a period of time. But it was very, very intense. And that's probably why there's a big turnover of staff under Eddie as well, because like it's got to be that way. But Steve definitely it's much more like when you're left alone. I couldn't believe how much free time we had.
We in the pre-World Cup would go out and play all the good golf around Penny Hill Park. Mm-hmm. It was wild. Training on Monday and just get out on buggies Monday afternoon. It was honestly bonkers. There was a group of us that were just
when we lost the semi-final. I don't think we'd lost on the Saturday. I didn't think we even trained till Wednesday, did we?
We didn't train till Wednesday. No, we play.
And then we played on the Friday.
Had a day of it Sunday. We played golf at the Golf National Monday morning.
It pissed down. Yeah.
John thought he'd be all right in England shorts and a gilet.
And I had to buy a whole new outfit in the shop. But I've still got that kit.
Rain.
Good. It was
genius.
Yeah.
And then we didn't train till Wednesday. You're right.
But that's the thing, isn't it? I think this is, rugby comes into a sport, and I've been with coaches who love a box tick, and you can quite easily fall into that. Whereas, between a week, you don't forget how to play rugby, do you? You don't forget the basics. You can just walk through. The thing is, going into a game like that, all you need is energy. You've just got to have a tank full, and it's right, off you go, isn't it? So it's good that it gets in. Was it like after the World Cup, when obviously now there's a few younger players coming in, whether you go Freeman, Furbank, you've Finn Smith, you've got all these young whippersnappers. Was it nice to say goodbye to the old guard of like Jonny after that World Cup? Get rid of the guys who are a bit long in the tooth and just
get rid of the dinosaurs.
Of those young whippersnappers, have they come in and added to that group in terms of the energy that they bring? Are they pushing those guys on? Has it felt like a fresh feel from that as well?
There's definitely a fresh feel in that regard, and I think there's also a bit of changing the guard in terms of those three that you've name-checked. Like, they're playing for an unbelievable Saints team. They're playing for the informed team in the league. So they were bringing that form in where, and that youthful energy. Manny Fair were both the same. Chandler Cunningham South the same. Like, these guys are unbelievable athletes, unbelievable talents, and honestly, they're a bit like one of those motor cars. You just tell them which way to go, and they'll go and do it. Like, they are unbelievable in that regard. And then I guess in terms of the end of that World Cup, I was emotional in that South African game for the main reason that some of the greats of English rugby weren't going to play again. They didn't have an opportunity to play in another final, and most of those had played a massive part in 4 years prior. I mean, it was funny. So John's obviously mentioned that time we had after the South Africa game, and it kind of everyone, come Tuesday, everyone's thinking, oh God, who's playing in this third and fourth game? Are we going to play all the boys who haven't played before in the World Cup or haven't played much? Or are we going to keep the same team? And John and Courtney just front-footed and said, I'm not playing. John, did you have a grade 0 calf?
No, I had a little tweak in my quad, and to be fair, Steve was good. He was like, there are times that I would ask you to play, and this just is not one of those times. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go play golf now.
In a gilet in the rain.
That was to play in that semi-final, and that to be my last game. We didn't win it, but I'm very grateful for what an amazing game that was. Special game to play in still.
Yeah, and obviously, I completely agree with that. But it was, and then kind of got a bit of a blueprint of what some of those who were going to play for the England team going forward, in terms of Sam Underhill got man of the match that day, didn't he, against Argentina? It was unbelievable. And again, you've seen that form carry through for us during the Six Nations, and so pleased for him as well with his journey, because you take it all the way back to the pre-World Cup. He was the first bunch of back rowers to get cut, and it was like we still had another 3 weeks or 4 weeks to go, and everyone goes, if Sam's getting cut, where the hell are we? Where are we standing right now? And fair play to him. He really knuckled down and came back with a vengeance. So another good story like that.
Hopefully you will both be there this summer as England travel to take on the All Blacks. I know there's a lot to come. We'll talk Premiership in just a moment, but just how much you relishing the All Blacks? I know you got Japan as well, but a little head-to-head with Ardie Savea. Is that in the diary? Have you ring that in red, or are you too much to get through before then?
It's definitely because Ardie Savea did that thing with Jim Hamilton not long ago, and that seems to be coming up on my Instagram a lot. I mean, for me, the All Blacks is the reason why we all play rugby, really, for a good chunk of us, in terms of when I was coming up as a youngster and watching rugby. Yes, I remember 2003, but really, I really remember the All Blacks being unbelievable. My first memory was 2005 Lions. So, watching Dan Carter, McCaw, and then, a bit further down the line, Kieran Reid, those guys, Sonny Bill, they're the reason why we all play the game we do. and how we do it. And so, yeah, I've heard it's an amazing place. And if I'm lucky enough to go and compete there, I can't wait.
If you're lucky enough, fingers crossed. And I know this is too far ahead, but you referenced the Lions as well. I mean, interestingly, we actually MCG is hosting the second test. I think. Were you at school with Zak Crawley? Is that right?
Yeah. So Zak and I have been in the same school from 4 to 18, so we know each other very, very well.
Amazing. So he'll be there, I think, presumably for the Boxing Day test. All things going well, fingers crossed, and I know there's a lot of rugby to be played if you're lucky enough to be selected, but you might well be there for the second test next summer as well. But just talk to me, Lions. I mean, hopefully you get a proper summer off the back of the trip to New Zealand and a bit of a break. But Lions next year?
Oh, it's an absolute dream. It's the biggest goal. It's the biggest accolade one can have as a professional. And yeah, I'd love to be involved. Like you say, but like what is it? 13 months away. 13 months before I played that pre-season game against Wales, I think I was playing against London Irish in the Prem Cup. So a lot can change in 13 months. But I can't lie and say I haven't. Not that I've been thinking about it, but I'd love to be involved. I mean, in Australia of all places, playing for the biggest brand in rugby, it'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
Have you asked Faz Jr. for Faz Senior's address for a little birthday card, a business card? Christmas is not too far away.
Funnily enough, we had Faz had some leaving drinks after the Sale game last weekend, and he had some family and some rugby league guys there who are his dad's mates. And I saw a dad in the corner. I said, I've just got to go and say good evening, and I said hi and just walked off. I didn't want to say anything else that would blow it, but no, I did go and say hi and then walk off. But I mean, he's an amazing coach, isn't he? And everyone speaks so highly of him as a bloke and as a coach. So I'm sure he'll do a great job.
At least you just said hi.
We'll clip that up.
Exactly.
We'll put that viral. We'll send that to the IRFU.
At least he just said hi. At least he didn't try and do what I did at that dinner and literally blow the bloody doors off the Farrell family.
That was entirely your fault, Michael, and you will not be playing for the Lions next summer.
Fortunately, that was never going to happen anyway, so we're all right.
It's interesting you mentioned Owen and the leaving drinks and Mako and Billy and Sean Maitland, etc. I know there's a mega semi-final, but is it quite a funny time at Sarries at the moment, or is it just business as usual?
It's business as usual now. It was a funny time a couple of months ago. I think. I mean, that whole Faz thing was an interesting one, wasn't it? Where it kind of the top 14 paper. What's the paper called in France? Like they caught wind of it, or it came out, and then. It was during the Six Nations, wasn't it? So like he wasn't really around either. So like no one really knew what was going on. And then it's come out and he's leaving, and like say a whole load of experience and club legends are leaving. And they've had their time to say goodbye, and now they're so focused on the rugby as any good professional. I'm sure John can vouch is and should be at this time of year. So yeah, no, it's a normal business as usual now, but there was a time where it was really like, right, okay, this is really happening. Like there are these guys who I've never played at a club without them are now leaving, and it's going to be an interesting time for the club. Is
it sort of refocused? Has it like focused the mind to give those guys the best send off? Has that been talked about in the club? Has it been something that's pulled everything together to go, right, let's make sure we send these guys off in the way that it should be?
It's definitely pulled everyone together in that regard, yeah. And I think they're also enjoying it a lot more now that everything's sorted and they're definitely going. I think there's an element of that as well. But yeah, I think that is one of our big motivations. I think we've got a couple. Talking about press, there was an article, I think we lost to Bordeaux the first time by 1,000-0. And I think something like Sarries have passed it. And that was put up on our meeting on the Monday morning. And actually, we went on a good little run then. And again, we played them later in the year and still lost 1,000-0. But yeah, I think there's been a bit of we want to show what we can do, and we're still not past it, and these guys are legends, and there's another reason for us to celebrate with them if we get the chance at Twickenham.
It's so lazy that they're past it. So lazy. And then what was that? What else was I going after? Back of it. How is that? Just going back to all the club, and there is so much shifting of people moving around clubs at the moment. Are players really way more aware of that, and the understanding of cap restrictions, and how it's just sometimes not feasible, and has it really become noticeable how the business has had to change with the reduction in caps when it comes to that sort of contract time of the year? People are far more sort of understand they might have to move, or the budget's so hard to fit into.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I don't think it's necessarily now those players that have played 100 times for the club. I don't think it's those who have played 150 times for the club. I think it's those who have played 30 that, if we were operating under normal previous situations, would go on and be really successful at the club. But the club, and because they've got the high potential, because they're going to be very good going down the line, they demand a certain fee. They require a certain salary or wage to keep them at the club, to, as anyone young, good talent does. And the club just can't manage to squeeze those talents in who, they're not going to play 30 games a year. No one is now, but if they're not going to play all 20 league games, they might start 5, have 10 on the bench. Those kind of players now, I don't think, are getting the chances, and they've got to go somewhere and where they are going to get the chance. And I think that's probably where that's being felt the most at Sarries anyway, for sure.
Can I hit you with some of the stats ahead of this weekend? I think I'm right in saying, and no one has disproved me, that no team that's ever finished third has ever gone on to lift the pot. And I am right in saying that in 39 semi-final attempts, the away team has won just 6 times. Throw into the fact that it's Northampton, who are almost your nearest and dearest at this stage of the season. And just give us a little sense of what's been said at Sarries this week, what you've been working on, and it's there to be done. And no club loves an opportunity like that as much as you guys. Am I right in saying?
No, you're right. So we obviously had last week to train with no game, and the focus in our group has been, I honestly mean this, has been nothing like ever before. It's been scary. The amount being demanded of each other, the amount that people are taking things on board and implement them immediately. It's been brilliant. It's been a really enjoyable week so far. We've got 2 more training days. We know we're playing the form team at their home. And you could say, well, the table shows that they're the best team in the league this year. But yeah, you've still got to go but we've got an opportunity to go and do something really, really special. And that is a massive motivating factor for us. We want to be a part of that. We want to be a part of the big show. I think everyone who was there last season at Twickenham could see how much it meant to us. We're really excited to try and go and do something really special.
And almost the admission fee alone is you and Courtney, and there's sort of differing in positions, presumably. But how much are you looking forward to the opportunity to go against the old timer one more time?
I look forward to it. I'm not sure. Ask me how much I'm enjoying it. After 40 minutes, he's incredible, isn't he? The way he's changed his game, I think, is the most incredible thing. Courtney Lawes, circa 2012 to 2015, was this hard-hitting, he used to melt people. And now all of a sudden, he's like the best jackler in the world. And you're like, what? How's that even happened? He's always had the skills. He's always had the line-out capabilities. He's always had the footwork. But yeah, that shift in his game, I just think is awesome. I think that just goes to show that there's always space in a squad. There's always space in a team for someone who's a bit more experienced, who realizes the way the game's shifting. I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, like you say, he's almost played his best rugby ever this year, and that's having worked with him a small amount during that World Cup. He's a classy operator. He's not anything like I've seen before in terms of how he is around the group, but he's a classy player, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a hell of a game. I won't ask you a prediction because I imagine it's fair to say it's through to the final. John, who wins Northampton Sarries?
Oh, it's so interesting. I feel like, I mean, even the sale is similar. Like the pressure really is all on Northampton in a lot of ways. And then you mentioned the experience and the players in that Saracens team who have been there and done it, and the focus and the incentive that they have, and how they have played in certain games. Like Sarries haven't been the Sarries they want to be in certain games, but like their game against Bristol, their game against Bath, their game against Harlequins at Tottenham, like if that Sarries shows up, it's so hard to call. Like if Sarries play, I to be fair, if Sarries bring their A game, I do back them, probably because of just the experience in the team. And then I'm even gonna throw a curveball and say Sale could even beat Bath, just because they suit being the underdogs. Like again, like I could just see, I don't know, I don't bloody know who does know, but like I just got a feeling there could be a couple of upsets this weekend. I've got gut feelings for at least one of these teams playing away to cause an upset and get a win.
So
but no, it's going to be a very good weekend.
Are you just sitting on the fence getting splinters?
No, I will be supporting Sale and supporting Sarries, and I hope that they both win, and I believe they probably will, but they will be close games.
Right, Michael.
But this is what Sarries do, isn't it? This is the time of the season where Sarries come and what they've been in 10 of the last 12 semi-finals, and I think the last time they lost was the away game against Exeter, probably in 2013. So this is what they know. So I would find them hard to believe. I think Northampton have played some incredible rugby, and I hope they can bring that out, because I know it'll be a very good game. But it is I do like my stats if I like going to have a punt, and having the fact that it's very rare for people to win away games in those semis. And the last time I think you had a semi away from home was the one you lost in Exeter. I feel bad that if you don't pick Sarries because Ben is on this, but I actually think Northampton have played some unbelievable rugby, so I would quite like to see them win. Sorry, Ben.
Bloody need you, Alan. Honestly, I'm so sorry.
I'll let him off because I'll probably give him a ring later.
I want the games to be like we've been watching at the moment. At the moment, I think the product on the field is insane. So let's have two teams that go toe to toe, and the dust will settle wherever it does. But it's hard to look past Sarries because they just know how to do it. This is their part of the season where they know how to get it done, and that's what Northampton have got to deal with. Northampton haven't had that much success when they've got to knock out rugby, so the pressure is on them. So let's see who deals with it.
Do you know what we haven't done? Actually, and it's interesting we were talking about Zak Crawley. Did you play with him?
So I played a lot of cricket when I was younger, and then I got to 17 and I was with Kent and I was with Sarries, and Kent were quite keen to keep me on, and Sarries were quite keen to keep me on, and I'd actually, funny enough, come off like a couple of days up in Yorkshire where I got one and hadn't bowled, and I spent 2 days in the field. And I thought to myself, it's rugby all day, isn't it? It's only 80 minutes at the end of the day. Now, if I'd have gone on to be as successful as Zak, who knows? But I would never have been. Zak was by far the best player I'd seen, and he's good to see him doing.
Yeah, you'd take that IPL cash though, wouldn't you? You'd love that.
He says I won't give it away, but he says he's dying to get himself in the auction, but he just can't. He can't quite bring himself to do it, because it's like 6 weeks in India and it's relentless. It's not like you go in there and having a real jolly and a good time. It's quite intense.
I spoke to Jonny Ben the other day. I think it takes a little while to figure it out. Once you've figured out how to sort of manage it,
how to get around it. Yeah, he's a
good
guy.
Did you open the batting with him? Were you a batsman or a bowler?
I was a batsman, then became a bit more of a bowler. I was about this size when I was 12, so sport as a whole was generally quite easy. And then became a bit more of a bowler. I think the term heavy ball was probably next to my name in the scorecard. I love my cricket. Always.
And what's he like on the golf course, Jonny?
He's so tidy. So what his single figure handicap, he's knowledgeable. He's calm. He's got a good aura. I love to play golf with Ben.
This is nice.
He's promised me
nicest swing.
He's promised me, he's promised me a holiday. Don't you have a little holiday?
Yeah, we're going on a golf holiday where
he's promised
we're bringing
me
our respective better halves. John's bringing his child, and we're leaving them, and we're going to go and play.
we're going to go play.
You're a dirty left-hander, aren't you, though, Ben?
Yeah, for my sins. But yeah, well, when me and John played together in the World Cup, it would be like John, actually very good golfer, plays with like some sort of hook draw, which. If you know it's coming every time, is great. And actually, in John's case, it comes every time. So it was quite nice to play with him, and you knew you was good, solid product coming your way. So he was a good teammate of mine.
I've got a terrible grip. I've got a terrible grip that I'm unwilling to ever change because I don't play golf enough.
Baseball bat like this.
So I'm constantly counterbalancing. So like I'm trying to find ways to any good golfer says like the grip's the most critical thing, and that's I don't hold it right, so I've got to find different ways around it, and I'm not willing to change.
Right.
So there you go.
Well, I want to say, Ben, that you're having snooker lessons as well.
I am at the moment. I've got one tomorrow night. I have 2 hours a week on the snooker table. I love my golf. I need something to play in the winter, and I can't find the thing. So I'm snooker's my next venture. So yeah, really enjoying it.
You need a little indoor setup at your house, Ben. That's what you need.
Well, it's funny. I was looking at like commercial garage space to see if I could buy a table and get one in there, but they're impossible to find. So yeah, I have 2 hours of lessons a week at some bloke's home.
Why don't you get the indoor setup, the golf simulator? Tins, have you got one of them? If we had one of them in COVID, we had such a laugh. That was about the funnest thing about COVID was our simulator. Me and Ben had some fun laughs on that simulator, didn't we?
It was always May and Ford versus
Elliot.
Daly, I used to watch. And I used to
he loved it. It was huge moments. I think we lost most of them, but it was so funny, so good.
I love it. What that does do, Ben, is it leads into what we do a question about our Continental Tires question of the week, and every week we ask our viewers to send in a question. Somebody mentioned about the fact you could play golf. So one of the questions was, if you were a rugby player, which of the following would you most like to have achieved? A century at Lords, a hole-in-one at Augusta, or a 147 at the Crucible?
A century at Lords. Yeah. I actually, until very recently, had never had my name, actually, other than at Twickenham, never had my name written on a board anywhere. Actually, me and Zak, when I played a Stableford foursomes competition down at our course down in Deal, and we'd never played a competition before. We ended up winning it, and we had found out in about hole 16 that the winners was going to get on the board. All of a sudden, we started taking it really seriously, and we were lucky enough to win, much to the disgust of the rest of the members. But so now our name is now written up on a board in Royal St. Ports somewhere. But yeah, a century at Lords.
Do you compare notes with him about elite level sport and mindset?
All the time.
Do you really?
All the time. Yeah. We speak most weeks. Him and I actually had a very similar journey in terms of our school career into our professional sport, into playing for England, then not playing for England, then getting another go for England. So yeah, we've got very weirdly similar journeys and picking his brains all the time.
What have you learned from him, and what's he taken from you?
What have I learned from him? The biggest learning from me, Zak is the most headstrong person I've ever met in my life. He's like, he'll get zero and be like, mate, I can't tell you how well I'm playing. And I think that's actually, there's a lot more that goes into performance than just playing the game. And Zak, like, you can have a bad game but train really well all week. And I actually think you've grown as a player, regardless of whether you play well that weekend. And that's the way I look at things now, thanks to Zak. It's actually like, well, I've not played my best game, but I trained really well all week. And I take notes after every training session about how I train. And I like look back, and if I'm happy with how I've trained, then I do feel like I've grown as a player, whether I played as well as I wanted or not. And that's the biggest thing I'd have taken from him. Biggest thing he'd probably taken from me, two things: how to drink. He once came out with a few of our younger lads at the club, and he was blown away. So that was a big thing. And probably the recovery. He doesn't take recovery very seriously. And thanks to Jonny May, I now have an ice bath in my garden. So there you go. There's a reason why John's on this podcast. But yeah, he's big into his recovery now, and we sometimes meet up and get in the sauna and chat all things then.
Brilliant.
We're waiting for him to do our recovery protocols for us. It's going to have a podcast recovery protocols after every show.
Well, that's brilliant. You should do that. I did my knee, and John asked how it was, and I said
when Ben hurt his knee, I was straight on to Ben. I was straight on to him.
I said I flipped my meniscus. I'm having an operation, and he sent me about 30 things to take daily. And I've been taking them.
You stayed on it. So, yeah, I gave him a supplement list, a tick list. Yeah,
I'm on the chondroitin, mate. I'm on the chondroitin always. The joint physio.
Do you know, Ben, I have really, really enjoyed this, and I know that I hope our viewers and listeners will absolutely. It is so refreshing to hear open honesty and just how much you're loving it, and you deserve to, because it's been a hell of an 18 months. I know there's a lot to come over the next 18 months, 24 months, but we wish all the rest. Jonny, will you just sum the man up for us as to how far he's come and where he's off to?
I mean, we had the old Ben Earl, we've got the new Ben Earl now, and we're going to see something even more. We can't accept any less, so he's going to keep getting better and better. He's naturally very gifted at everything he does, but he's got the bit between his teeth now, and he's got the tools around him and the experience now to use that and just keep improving. And he's got the energy for the sustainability. This is a guy who wants to play golf after training in the summer. He wants to play snooker in the winter after training. So there's no stopping a man with incentive and energy and desire like Ben Earl. And I can't wait to see how he goes this next 18 months. I love watching him, and I can't wait for him to take me on holiday.
Tiz, you want to second that?
I used to play snooker with Sinbad. He didn't have energy. But that was more because Sinbad just wanted to be in a dark room, I think. No, I think he's what Ben's doing at the moment. I think it's just great for any kid who's watching sport. When you actually go out there and you're enjoying yourself and you show that you're enjoying yourself, the energy comes off the back of it, and you enjoy what you're doing. And I think he's a great sort of role model for anyone who wants to play in professional sport. That yes, it's serious, but you've got to enjoy what you're doing, and when you do that, you will get better, and you'll learn quicker, and you'll have fun, and that's ultimately what sport should be a lot of the time. And when you're having fun, you probably play your best rugby, and he's shown that for the last 18 months. And hopefully we'll see more of it, and he's only going to benefit for us in the England Whites this summer, but then no doubt the Lions next year.
Brilliant. Ben, thank you very much. What's on the to-do list next couple of days, or is it just feet up, waiting for the semi-final?
We've got training tomorrow, and then, like I said, I've got my 2-hour snooker lesson, and then Wednesday is all hands on deck for recovery.
The glamour, I think we call it.
Yeah, exactly.
The modern day player. Thank you so much for dialing in. Hopefully we'll do this again soon, and you're more than welcome on the sofa. We'll try and pull that together. But,
I'd love to. Yeah, that really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me. I thought it was great. Yeah. Nice to see John's face again.
Me, Ben Earl, and Ford would be good. Me, Earl, Ford would be great.
Ford actually only agreed he'd come on.
Is that right?
On, so
that's
one domino at a time. Well, thank you.
We'll have a takeover. Yeah. I think we'll take it to an indoor simulator, golf simulator, and we'll do it as a live pod whilst that
would be so good. Right. A GBR golf simulator pod. So good.
I can set that up.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Good luck this weekend, Ben.
We can just do it mine. Yeah.
Good show. Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for dialing in, Ben. Love you to see you. Jonny, as always, Mike, good to see you. We've been a good, the bad, and the rugby with our friends at Continental Tire. Stats and facts provided by Oval Insights. We're a folding pocket production, and would you believe it, for you old-timers, viewers and listeners.
I was hoping you'd bring this up.
It was produced.
For one last time. Fuck you, Si.
It was produced by Si Clancy. Enjoy the rest of your week. We shall see you soon. Bye for now.